It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Matthew has another question. He says, you always talk about knowing your financial number, but how do you plan for future expenses in retirement prior to having kids and largely with an unknown future in regards to expenses?
Man, I love this question. So I want to make sure that I'm going to make sure I'm understanding what he asked correctly. Mm-hmm. Did you understand he was saying, hey, how do I know what I'm going to spend in retirement when I'm in the early part of my career, before kids and before all like the messiness of what we call the messy middle life stuff? Is that the question that Matthew's asking?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
Well, I see what you did there, Bo. And I was thinking it too, is that this is the part, and look, we get picked on for this, is that, and it's not, it's just we're trying to say, make sure you do your homework, because we've done several FIRE videos. And look, we support financial independence. It's we even support retiring early. We've helped a number of people work through that. The thing that we always tell people is just be careful when you're making decisions that will be so long. Because retirement used to be 30 years. But now people are making decisions where they have retirements that are 40 and 50 and beyond. I mean, some of these projections on where medical science is and how long we'll live, this stuff is going to put us in a stratosphere that we have never seen before. And I worry about people, especially if you're pre-kids or you're right in the beginning of kids, is you don't know what life has in store for you. I mean, because, I just took my daughter to college yesterday.
Oh boy, here it comes.
No, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to try not to cry. But it was definitely a big life event. And that's a celebration point. But sure. I could also share that, my youngest child is special needs. She's probably going to need somebody to take care of her for the rest of her life. So I have to not just have one retirement. I have to have two retirement accounts because I have to plan for me and my wife, but I also have to plan for my youngest child. If I had visions of retiring at 45, when that it would have been blown up by having this child, and there's a lot of famous FIRE people that retired because they had built up $3 million and retired in their late 30s, early 40s, and then they found out, but we didn't know how much daycare was going to cost. We didn't know how much college was going to cost, and all these things that come out of nowhere. That's why there is a benefit to kind of, I always say the 50 plus retirements, because at 50 plus, there are a lot of life things that have settled in the fact that, and I'm getting close to that. It's like I know I'm not having any more kids. So I know what that is. Even with the special needs child, I know what that obligation is going to be. I also know I'm living in the house. I don't need to keep swimming upstream. I could afford a bigger house, but I'm not. I'm happy. I know what contentment is. There's a maturity that comes with somebody as you get close to 50, that you kind of know where you want to end up. And I think that there's a lot of value in that stuff. So I worry about, and look, I was one of those people. If you asked the 20-something version of myself, I would have said, I am out of here at 50 years old. Sure. And then here I am getting close to the 50 mark.
You're like, I'm not going anywhere yet,
I'm not going. I love what I do for a living. Because I think I was looking at my job as work back in my 20s, and it was a goal I was saving, I was funding. Now I've realized I am part of a purpose, and I will have the financial independence. That's already been obtained, but the retire early, that doesn't have as much value as it once did. So I think you have to kind of give yourself enough time to reach the inflection point that you kind of know who you are completely and what brings you happiness, what brings you fulfillment. I want you to save in your 20s and 30s, though, so you have that option, though, because there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I want to be out of the workforce at 45 years of age, because having abundance and the ability to retire at 45 doesn't mean you actually have to walk through that threshold. And maybe you use that threshold to go work in something else or do something else, because everybody I know in the FIRE movement who actually does it, they don't actually retire. They just start creating content on being a FIRE movement, which is, if you think about it, is another job.
I have just two thoughts that hit me. When someone comes to us and they're thinking about retiring, we really ask them, hey, okay, what do you think you're going to spend? What are your expenses? Because they're close enough to be able to hone in on that. When someone comes to us and they're in their early 20s or 30s, we ask about their savings rate, because at that point, that's what matters. How am I saving? And Brian, this is a bad analogy, but I'm going to share it because we're live in front of millions of people, so why wouldn't I share this? I'm not a big golfer. I enjoy playing golf. I'm not very good at it. I just feel like I should throw that out. I'm not very good at it. But when you're golfing, right, and you're on the tee box, the first shot that you hit is usually with a driver. Well, you're not trying to be like laser specific, right? You're just trying to get a long shot and get the ball out there. But as you progress through the course, the precision of the shot gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until you're on the green and then you're putting. You know the exact line, you know exactly how hard, you know exactly what you're doing. Financial planning is kind of the same way. Early on, you're just trying to figure out, okay, what are the broad strokes that get me moving in the right direction? That's the 25%. Your 25% is your driver, but then as you get closer and closer to retirement, as the hole is coming closer and closer to you, that's when you really have to hone in on it. That's when you really have to get laser precise in the things that you're doing and the decisions that you're making, and that's the right time to be focusing on it.
So what I'm hearing is if you're young, grip and rip.
Grip and rip, baby. Just save. Just save, right?
It cracks me up.